game number 3 to try to get this one across the board again. Not mathematically eliminated with a loss here, our Weibo, but it does take a lot of autonomy out of their hands for whether they do end up making that play-in stage or not. NIP would lock play-ins with a win, and they're going to first pick Seraphine to try to get them there.
Now this is a really interesting draft to spawn into. You see we just kind of appeared here with all of the bans already done, and the Mount Rushmore of mid lane mages is no longer going to be with us in this series. Victor was able to slip through, but the other three, Cassio, Ori, and Syndra, are not going to get to make an appearance in the first series of the night. 3 series tonight, by the way, so this is just the beginning of Crazy Is Our Game. I'm sure they're waiting on standby. The other team's ready to fight once Weibo and NIP settle this 3rd score of the series, but they're going to lock in a nice Lee Sin Annie here in response to the Seraphine, which more than likely is setting up directly for an Ashe.
Yeah, really strong mid-jungle duo here, going to try to have some dominance in that area of the map earlier on the Weibo side. Just so reliable to be able to get Xiaohu some of those early kills on the Lee Sin. Here's a blast from the past. Ashe Seraphine feels like we haven't seen this since Split 1. Does come back on in here for NIP, for Photic and Fengyue in game number 3. Care, the little shout out to, it was Nya who played the Fizz earlier this split, right? Or last split?
I think we've been seeing some Fizz into Twisted Fate was maybe the one thing we were seeing. Now, that would be the coolest thing ever if he felt like making the hover real,
it was Sunyan. It was Sunyan who played it.
It was. Well, I actually do remember that. But I think, yeah, obviously you're getting paid to play League of Legends here. You're not going to draft Fizz in this spot, unfortunately. So we're not going to get to see the Playful Trickster come out. But what we are going to get to see is this champ who's had, honestly, I want to just say a really beautiful visual rework. To be honest, I love, honestly, how much aura he has when he ults, just the sound he makes where he's just immune to damage itself from ranged champs, it feels like. So Annie is going to have to make sure that she gets in Zin's range so that she can blow him up, or else he's just going to ignore all of her damage.
Gnar Blind comes through for Zika. We'll be able to ban to defend that pick somewhat here. And meanwhile, going to leave their bot lane vulnerable to some attack from NIP. Without the Lucian Melio here, it feels like a lot of the traditional counter bot lanes probably not going to be available here. I mean, you could always go Ziggs and roaming support or something like that. Perhaps that's what NIP are going to look to target in the back half of the draft.
Ziggs and roaming support could be nice. The only ones we really have left would be, I mean, Shen is kind of pickable, but you would probably lose the lane. I feel like in this kind of case, some of the better champs that you want would be Ezreal's out. You kind of want some champs like Karma or Mel, some of these really high range champs. Like I feel like you could draft a Mel lane here or a Karma lane, probably not the champs together. You could also look for Bard. I think that would be quite nice. Nautilus is out, Pyke is out. I mean, you could go Blitzcrank if you really wanted. There's a lot of angles where you can punish these rather immobile champions, but Jarvan's out. I mean, there's a lot of the best answers to them are out, so it's really quite smart from NIP. The more I think
really
about it, to take the Ashe Seraphine.
Yeah, I mean, Melban feels like required reading here for NIP. That was one of the older counters when this was a major meta pick, and if anything, it's better now, where you feel more comfortable with these mage bot lanes. Instead, they're going to ban the Bard, try to limit the roaming side of things compared to the Mel side of things. But I mean, I would not mind a Mel pick here at all, and then you just figure out, you know, whatever roaming support you like. The Shen, like you mentioned, still available, still an option. You can go something like the Leona, you can go something like the Rel.
The Karma. I could see the Karma. Now, the thing that I don't expect to see with this Karma, though, is the flex potential of this pick. I actually think this pick in the bot lane role is extremely effective, but looks like they're going to go ahead and pick the Rel. That's another one of the answers, because what Rel is so effective at is blowing through shields, and what Seraphine is so effective at is making shields. So that definitely enables you to get that dive threat that you're looking for with this comp. I mean, you have Annie Lee Sin. You want to go in and one-shot them wombo combo style. That's exactly the theme that Rel fits into. And if you can get a Mega Gnar in there, I mean, this is a complete blender comp. We could see something similar to what happened at the Baron Pit last game if they get their way.
Yeah. Twisted Fate locked in for NIP. want to get a little global pressure here, look to move away from the Annie Lee Sin at any opportunity they can find. And Hoya hovering this Jax into the Gnar, giving them a strong top lane to be able to play through with that Twisted Fate. Oh, could also be something a little spicier. The top lane Tristana, one that we see occasionally and that Hoya might decide to go for here. The marksman top legend himself, looking at another opportunity. He takes it.
Yeah. I think it's good. I actually think it's good. The thing is with this comp, though, your only survival champ is in, and I was gonna say it, but he jumps to the threat of it. The Mel. You just picked TF face up when we're already discussing Mel as a viable pick. So you basically made the last pick for them. You said, please last pick Mel, and Elk says, okay, I am more than willing to do that. And here we are. We're kind of having some solid predictions here tonight, a bit of a prophecy unfolding, and we're just gonna see if maybe this is what settles the score. Because in the first game, the R5 was a Xerath who got dove permanently. In the second game, the last pick was a Kog'Maw who kept getting dove and dying. But now we have a last pick who actually is an extremely effective counter into the enemy draft. So maybe, just maybe, there could be a poetry here of how important the usage of last pick is.
Yeah, I do think there's a little bit of a damage concern for Weibo's comp. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, the Mel's excellent into the Ashe, the Seraphine, and the Twisted Fate. And hell, you can put the Tristana in there too if you get to block a Buster Shot or something. That'll feel pretty good. But you know, Merc Treads is going to be their best friend on the NIP side for certain this game. And if that Lee Sin doesn't get rolling with some early damage, early kills, it feels like you might have somewhat of a concern, especially with Seraphine shielding and healing, of being able to actually kill off all these targets.
Right, this is more of a solo queue Lee Sin dream, where the Lee Sin just gets so fed, has so much acceleration, is able to get an early item advantage, maybe even like a Serpent's Fang to just make sure that that gets punished through. But you don't really get to see that in comp. Your Lee Sin is kind of just buying 2 control wards all the time to have all the vision and ward hops and getting 1 item only. So maybe Xiaohu pops one off, but we'll see for the game 3 of WBG versus NIP.
Yeah, you know, with all the draft face up now, knowing that the last pick Mel did come through, you almost wonder if NIP regrets this Tristana a little bit. Like, if this was just, you know, pick your bruiser of choice. If it was that Jax, right, that they were hovering before. Which, by the way, we've inverted top lane here. Hoya is behind Zika.
Just by the way.
Up
yeah,
with the rapid fire. Gets him to start hop and retreat back away under the turret. This is kind of miserable for Zika, bro.
Right, I mean, this is kind of the inverse of the previous game where they drafted the Kog'Maw for the laning phase, but it didn't have as much of a thematic fit for the rest of the game. This is kind of what this Tristana is. This Tristana is meant to stomp this laning phase, and things are going to probably get a little bit harder around that mid game, especially because of that Mel you mentioned. And the enemy team does have a Lee Sin. That's probably the best ganking champ in the game. I will say that. I mean, taking a look at this TP he has to take here, he's low-key able to survive that pressure Hoya was able to put on. A well-played level 1 it was from him, but I gotta say, Gordo, Lee Sin, if you ever have the privilege and also extreme nightmare fuel of playing the Korean solo queue server, Lee Sin is the lobby administrator champion. Wherever he goes, the game is won. So pretty much, Lee Sin is not even supposed to get through the draft, and when he does, he completely carries it because of how far and how fast he can go ganking and one-shotting everyone in the early game. So we'll see if Xiaohu wants to skip camps and do exactly that, perhaps coming top lane, because I really do tell you, Gordo, this Lee Sin champ, I have seen nothing else other than amazing things in the early games here in China and Korea.
Mohamed Elk, of course, having to do their best to farm underneath the turret here. Is a champion that is well equipped to do that in the Mel, but still going to be difficult. And I got to say, you know, shout out to all the top laners out there complaining about ranged tops in their lane. We just had to watch Zika take a level 1 0 CS recall That's that's tough to watch, man. You can't help but sympathize.
Yeah, that's definitely not the most comfortable feeling in the world, but you don't really have a choice sometimes, and I'm kind of interested that he was able to save the TP. That's what actually makes this a really unique dynamic here for Hoya to navigate, because Tristana, she does that, right? In the level 1, she just rapid fires and chunks you out in this Gnar matchup, but now that you're level 4, and you kind of both have full HP pools, and this Gnar can maybe get closer to Mega and not get zoned and have more spells and things to do, it's hard for Hoya to get a good base in with no TP.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, Zika did get to hold on to the teleport, just decided, hey man, I'm not touching this wave anyway. And so will just decide to walk back to lane with basically nothing to be purchased. Maybe he got one more potion, I didn't quite see. But he is going to continue to have a rough laning phase up against this Tristana for quite a few levels, at least until he can get, you know, some plated steel caps or something, just to help try to navigate his way through this lane.
Speaking of which, I feel like plated steel caps just puts in so much work against the enemy comp. The thing is, they have a lot of CC, but they pretty much only do auto attack damage. They're 4 damage champions. So, I mean, yeah, TF's hardly a damage champion. So that's the thing. I really think Zika could benefit a lot from that plated steel cap power spike. And then this Tristana's champion, as much as she scales, she has a bit of a harder mid game where Gnar is able to affect those team fights and fit this team composition identity.
I think that is some of why you see a little bit more top lane Tristana in 2026 than we did previously. The top lane quest lets you get that XP faster, lets you hit those silly range thresholds faster than you would on a bot lane or even a mid lane Tristana. And of course, you do get the level 19 and 20 as well for a little bit of extra range on top if you do find yourself in a super late game scenario. And you know what? This might be the kind of game where that ends up making a huge difference, because there's not going to be anybody on Weibo that can really match that kind of range.
It's so funny, but my friend and I were actually looking at this the other day about, he's like, bro, trust me, you gotta get on this Tristana top. And I was like, well, I know, I've seen it around, but like, it's nothing special. He's like, but trust me, once you get the extra range, it's like it's a cheat code. And we looked into the wiki, you get like 15 extra range, which doesn't sound like a lot. If you're level 20, you think maybe you get more than that, but 15 range can actually make all the difference in the world when we're playing League of Legends at the highest level here in the LPL. And honestly, every millimeter, every millisecond counts. So if you're able to get a bit more range to do a bit more damage from a bit further away, that could make all the difference, Gordo. I'd be curious to see if we can go that far. I do like games that last a while.
If you do end up in that position, it'll definitely help you out. I mean, the other possibility here, though, is this NIP comp definitely has the capability to just snowball out of control and end the game before you even get to that point, as does the Weibo comp. So I almost would predict against getting into a super late game scenario, but if it happens, it happens, and we'll see just how influential the Tristana can be there. Meanwhile, NIP trying to start up this first dragon here. It's a flash engage from Xiaohu. They're going to pull everything in onto Care, but they can't finish him off. The healing from Fengyue going to keep him up way longer than they might have expected, but they still cannot get the trade back, and eventually Care falls down anyway. The lockdown on the Fengyue from a nicely placed solar snare from Elk will turn it into a 2-for-0. Weibo walk away with a win in the first fight.
I love watching the LPL, man. Like, look at this series. You really don't know who's going to take it. I mean, even Weibo getting that 2-for-0, that's just to even out the gold lead. This composition is just a really unique identity. And how can you even see that, by the way, when this TF just gets flashed on like that? Like, it seems like the game is just completely natural. Nobody's in a scary spot. But I guess this line bush, it is a really important space to control at this particular time for the Drake. And TF is standing a bit too close to it as Care here. He even holds the flash, because once Xiaohu gets that kick flash, you're just stuck in the middle of the enemy team and you can't possibly survive that. So honestly, well played to have the killer instinct from Xiaohu and Xiaohu, our goats.
Well done by the Weibo team composition. And yeah, I mean, Guwon, without the damage to be able to take down that Lee Sin, does not really have much additional damage in the back pocket. Care gets taken down so fast, and Ashe, Seraphine, what they have in poke and lockdown, they do not have in being able to really be able to burst down a target. So Weibo able to really run that fight, but they're going to
take a look at this. It's 5v5.
They get right in there with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, followed up with by the stun from Care, and Xiaohu loses most of his health right off the bat here. Destiny Pop to be able to keep some vision on where the members of Weibo are coming from. Both top laners descending. You got to give that respect over to Hoya here, the amount of burst he can bring to the table. One Grub going to fall to NIP, and this fight isn't done for yet. They're going to dive forward onto Zika. Doesn't quite have the Mega yet. Loses a fair chunk of health, but will be going Mega here before too long. NIP have to show some respect towards that threat, and they will exit up through the top side. So Weibo going to be the ones who walk away with 2 Grubs in a fight where nobody drops.
Total slow burn fight, and you see the look from Care there, kind of shaking his head in disbelief or in discomfort. He thought that NIP could make something happen there, but the patience and the tethering from Weibo to just make sure that NIP couldn't do anything and just slowly pushing them out. Really, really fascinating to see that it was just a 5v5, that both of the Elk and Photic came up there like that. Does he go in here?
Yeah, he was looking for it. He was thinking about it. I thought he might be coming out of there with the rocket jump to try to just blow this mini Gnar up, but thinks better of it. Says, hey, I just have recurve bow at this point. Maybe not quite at the kill threshold yet.
It's a good point. He would do a lot of damage in general there, but it seems like he's sitting on a bit of gold. He's definitely generated a huge gold lead at that, by the way. I mean, 800 just for drafting this champion into Gnar. That's a pretty good deal. I'll say it like that. So once he spends that gold, maybe then he can just do exactly what you're saying. This mini Gnar is a squishy target, and he can just dive right on top of him and blow him up. But for the meanwhile, NIP got control over this river, but Weibo doesn't want that to happen.
Oh, and there's an engage coming through onto Xiaohu. Lines up the CC with the gold card to guarantee the arrow, and that guarantees the encore. No chance for Xiaohu to move. My man is a spectator to his own demise as NIP make their first pick of the game and will secure the first dragon.
That's the power of the Ashe. I mean, the amount of crowd control from the side of NIP is extremely high from this Twisted Fate Ashe Seraphine. And what was really interesting was we saw Xiaohu purchase the swiftness boost there, and you could tell, you really could, that he was thinking twice for a moment. Like, should I really leave these swiftness boots, like, as the purchase? He must have only had, like, 700 gold because he refunded it, and it took him, like, 3 or 4 seconds to leave the fountain. I think he wanted to go Merc Treads this game, didn't have enough gold on that base, played for the tempo going swiftness, and that's the price you pay. You can't survive without any tenacity. So sure, you're faster, but you just can't get hit.
Well done by Care. He does pick up the Merc Treads. Those things are going to be ridiculous this game, brother. They're exactly what the doctor ordered up against this Weibo composition with double mages, the heavy lockdown. It's what is going to keep Care alive in some of these crucial scenarios, you would hope, as a member of NIP. Meanwhile, big wave crash to the Hoya on the top side. He is conscious of the potential for him to be dove. Instead, they're going to end up going on towards Guwon, who has to flash back over the wall, but Hoya does get to pick up this wave. Grubs are now, or rather Krugs are going to be what gets fought over. And they will be able to pick up a fair bit of that gold on the Weibo side.
If there's one thing I've gotten to learn working with a former LCS player, I'll hold that thought. Elk, does he hit it? Parry?
Down. They do get the lockdown. Elk gonna try to run this one out, and it's not gonna be enough. Really well-placed arrow from Photic right as that rebuttal runs out.
Yeah, you're on 0 MS, and it's a really hard human skill to have, is to hit the perfect reaction. He doesn't get the rebuttal. Speaking of reaction, he doesn't have to react to that one, but Xiaohu lurking in the wings here. I don't think he's done, Gordo.
Yeah, looking at a potential dive. Fengyue is there, has the heal, has the surround sound, but the risk of that Mega Gnar is just too great. So they're going to give him the space, let him take a couple of plates, and say, all right, Photic's going to trade on the opposite side. We already got the kill. We can afford to sacrifice this wave.
You know what just happened down there is quite crazy, because Care drafted this Twisted Fate knowing Mel was up and quite likely going to be picked by Elk, right? Then, with Twisted Fate being into the Mel, he just ulted on top of her and won the mind game. He completely outplayed the rebuttal from Elk, and now there's some serious consequences.
Oh, Moham tries to TP back to bot lane. Hoya interrupts it, but he gets immediately punished. Xiaohu jumps out of the bushes, kicks it back into the team, and that's going to be a kill for Weibo. But now, what does Elk do? His backup is not coming. Moham's Spellbook TP interrupted. No backup for Elk whatsoever. He will be dropping down to Photic.
Somehow, someway, Hoya forces a 1-for-1 with Elk. Pretty much on the complete polar opposite sides of the map. He just decides, in some heart of hearts, I will not let this Mel be defended, and decides he must rocket jump forward and Buster shot the teleporting Moham because he needs to enable his team to succeed. And if anything, Gordo, this is just exactly what's been happening all series. I mean, Hoya is just completely playing only aggressive in the top lane, doing everything in his power to enable the rest of his team. I mean, think about it. That's what's been happening. He's been dying. It's been looking scuffed, but you can't tell me it hasn't been working.
Yeah, I mean, Hoya just forfeited his entire advantage topside to make this happen. He says, I've handed it over to Photic. This Gnar can have all the gold he wants. He gets first turret gold. He gets the... I'm not sure if that was a shutdown from the CS lead. Probably not, because the CS lead's collapsed at this point. But yeah, I mean, he's had to forfeit multiple waves to avoid potential dives, and forfeits his life there as well. Zika now finds himself the nice lead in the top side, but that is at the cost of Elk's entire game, seemingly, as we do get a pause.
We do get the pause, and quite creepy timing of that. The lights just went off right here as soon as it paused, but thankfully it just went back on. So the motion sensor has another like 30-minute proc. So now we're just completely chilling. But wow, just taking a moment to breathe in what's just been going on this game. Just a moment to step back and smell the roses and reassess. Quite the game we have here, and really quite the series. I feel bad for Elk though. He's been getting picked on.
He has been. He has. I mean, he has tools to be able to really turn around some of these fights if he is ever in the area when a fight's breaking out. If he gets a reflect on an Encore or an Enchanted Crystal Arrow or even something like a gold card, it can really swing a fight, really throw a wrench into anything that NIP are intending to do with their engage. So that's always going to be in their back pocket. But yeah, I mean, this Annie now finding themselves at a 1k gold deficit, this Mel finding themselves at a 1k gold deficit. Like, yes, the Gnar is ahead and is a split push threat, but I'm really starting to get worried about this damage a little bit from the Weibo side, right? Their carries are falling behind, their double mages are, and they really are kind of reliant on them to be able to deal with this NIP team comp. Like, they can isolate and blow up one target, maybe two, but the threat of this Tristana and Ashe coming into the later game, it's going to be significant.
Right, and the carries from Weibo have made their respective mistakes. We saw that Xiaohu got hit by the Enchanted Crystal Arrow from Photic, and we saw that Elk wasn't able to hit the rebuttal on Kair's gold card, and we also saw him get dived immediately after, and it feels like Photic has been the one benefiting from this the most. We get to resume, we're back in the LPL, and look at Photic and Kair, they're just rich as ever. Zika is going to have to really compensate because he doesn't have another wealthy bro.
No, he does not. Worth pulling out, Kair is going AP Twisted Fate. That is usually what the mid lane Twisted Fates lean towards, but always worth considering, especially if he's going to be on side lane duty against this Gnar for a lot of the game. That the AD build was in the cards. Already got double marksman on this team comp, though. No reason to go in that direction. And Zika chunked to about half. Fengyue's actually snuck his way in here. I don't think Zika saw him. An Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming out.
Wow.
Oh! Almost perfectly calls out Zika, but he flashes away in time.
I mean, Photic is just a complete sniper. He literally was predicting his jump at that point. But, you know, luck or not, that's going to be a flash from Zika. And Photic, man, keep aiming those R's however you're doing that. Just whatever you got. Maybe give it to some of the Winthrop 80 carries tomorrow, man. I want my Ashe arrows to hit like that.
Let's see if they're going to be able to line them up. But Photic having a solid game on the Ashe thus far. Second dragon spawning on up here. That is going to be some TP being channeled from Zika. Hoya does have access to his TP as well. Okay. Does look like the call is going to be to just take the turret gold, and they're going to give this dragon over to Weibo.
Yeah, so they're gonna secure the dragon as Weibo, but the real question is how worthwhile is it? Hoya gonna compensate immensely for the gold lead that was built up against him. You know, he's gonna really close back in on where this gold lead once was and perhaps should be. So that's nice for the side of Hoya. And how about this?
Wait, this one is
Based?
Hoya. Hoya's coming to make a play onto Xiaohu. Care can't get the interrupt in time, tries to just top deck a gold card, but it's blue. No luck, but Hoya will just get the TP second turret right into his pocketbook right there.
I mean, seen there is perhaps one of the advantages of the Proto Belt build. You're getting 20 extra haste, which the Roa just does not give you, and that almost bought him enough time to come up with another gold card out the deck, but wasn't really possible. I like what Xiaohu did there, and we got more.
Destiny from Care to get over here just to make sure that they're going to be able to contest this Rift Herald. Guwon feeling confident, be able to step up here with Fengyue at his back, and the rest of the team are en route to be able to back them up. They don't choose to rip the Herald themselves, but they did successfully disrupt the take from Weibo. Weibo going to try to get some control back. Meanwhile, there's a pick on the Xiaohu.
No mercs, brother.
Encore connected, as did Gold Card, and Care will be able to finish him off with the help of Photic. That was also arrow used, so this pick potential still showing out. Solar Stare connects onto Care, but it might just be baiting Zika in. He is getting chased down, goes Mega, gets the extra health to be able to stay alive, but Weibo are out of here.
Okay, I'm a Care believer now. We were talking about it before the show started, about how good Care is of a player. We talked about with the stats we were highlighting. I mean, that was so well played. I don't think there's any answer here from Weibo even. I mean, he gets the first pick on a Xiaohu, again with the chain CC, again with the no tenacity punish, but then the way he knows how to navigate against this Mel, you see how he just chucks the red card with the Proto Belt. It's actually forcing the rebuttal, but at a much cheaper price than the gold card would have been. And yeah, Xiaohu just stepping in the wrong place at the wrong time, and yeah, no tenacity, buddy. It's gonna look a bit like that.
Yep. And you know, this combination of abilities, it's a nightmare for Xiaohu. It's a nightmare for Mininar. It's a nightmare for anybody that they encounter at this stage. Gold card into Encore, into Enchanted Crystal Arrow. You can mix and match that order as you desire, but it does so much to hold them still for so long. And that time to kill is just going to keep getting lower and lower as some items find their way into Care and Photic's pockets.
An honest wave of fear has washed over me for user Popsly, because there's some people who consider Xiaohu one of the GOATs, and I don't want his career to go out like this. I don't want his split to end like this. They low-key need this win to keep their independence alive in this group. They don't have control over their fate if they lose this, and Xiaohu's kind of having a under subpar performance. I want to see Xiaohu come back to life.
Luckily, you don't need all the gold in the world to be useful on the Annie. Can still
That's
get
so true.
Some of those big engages off. The problem is going to be, it's got to be paired up with some big plays from the rest of the team, right? Zika and Xiaohu representing the physical damage on this team. They're going to need to be able to pull their weight as well. You kind of need everything to go your way to be able to blow up some of these squishier NIP members right off the bat. If you use too many tools and aren't able to get yourself a huge numbers advantage off of it, you might just find yourself getting run down by these marksmen. And so far, 3K gold lead to NIP. Pretty happy with this early game, but as we saw last game, it's not over until it's over. NIP
True.
have definitely the capability in them to lose out from an advantage state like this.
That they do. That they absolutely do. I would prefer to have seen Weibo having the lead, because we know their tendency to throw, but I mean, we did see what happened last game. That's very true with the lock, so you never know. But you highlighted it perfectly in the draft. It's that this composition kind of does need to get this Lee Sin rolling, and we have not seen much from Xiaohu. We have seen plays from him, don't get me wrong, but there's only been like maybe 3, and we need more than that. I mean, this 1-0-2, it's great, but I don't know, like the Lee Sin's not Lee Sinning right now. We need this lobby to start being administrated.
Well, going to be a look through the mid lane here. As NIP is continuing to fight for a little bit of wave control. Care coming in to keep that wave shoved in on the bottom side. Hoya doing much the same on the top. The old 1-3-1. out of NIP. What can Weibo do to respond to this? Destiny out from Care to protect against a collapsing Xiaohu. And Zika does go up to respond to Hoya, so all in all, just going to continue to ping-pong these waves back and forth as the third dragon does spawn.
See, now you are right. You don't need that much gold to be useful on Annie. So we'll see if Xiaohu can make use of his talent that he's shown over his tenure, over his career, and find an angle like he did in the early game. He found that flash onto Care. I want to see another great look from Xiaohu to really bounce back this story and this game, because right now this 2K gold lead, it's really quite concerning.
Well, there's going to be the dragon ripped by the side of Weibo here. Will NIP look to collapse and try to make a response? Doesn't look like it.
They won't.
Photic taking a recall. NIP just say, hey, we don't need to take these fights around the dragon. We can continue to just play the side lanes, continue to farm up, continue to let our marksmen scale. And 2 dragons, not the end of the world.
Now, I find that very interesting. I just feel like it must have been a alignment of the map. Like, perhaps they just didn't have a good setup or vision or recall timings, because it seems that they have everything they need to 5v5 this comp. Like, if you spawned all 5 of those champions in the river versus the other 5 champions with these inventories, it feels like NIP would probably come out on top. I mean, they even have the Mikhails, so it seems like they don't have to worry about the Xiaohu threat nearly as much. But for whichever reason, they opt to play for gold instead, which I'm not saying it's invalid at all, but I just find it really curious. You would think that NIP would want to secure the dragons, but they have other plans.
Yeah, I think just happy to continue to play through the side lanes here. Don't want to walk into a wipe around one of these neutral objectives the way they did in game number 2. That might be playing into the nerves a little bit here, given how that one went.
Sure.
And I think they are happy to just keep putting gold into Hoya, right? Catapult him right over this kind of mid-game power trough that the Tristana tends to have. Get him level 16 plus, get him to that ridiculous range state, and say, well, now Tristana can attack you outside of any Q range. What are you going to do about that, Weibo?
Not sure what they're going to do about that. I find them in a pretty precarious position here. This Twisted Fate's getting really strong. I'd imagine he's going to go Rapid Fire Cannon next. At that break point, it feels like, how can you even survive the amount of CC and pick potential they have? With that being said, I mean, Care is kind of underleveled right now. He's not level 14 yet, nor is Photic. So Zika, for example, being level 15, he's pretty strong, and he's not hitting the Gnar ult.
Yeah, took a swing, buffered away by Hoya, jumps out with that rocket jump. And Hoya going to feel even safer now with that ability down for the foreseeable future. He's going to continue to get waves funneled into him.
He sure is, and other than that, I think that's the main thing that is really going to enable NIP to win this game. It's the Rapid Fire Cannon, because other than that, I really don't think there's other spikes that matter nearly as much. I mean, sure, Ash might pick up a Mortal Reminder, but you don't really mind. And I don't see anything that Weibo could pick up to really change the course of the game either. Perhaps when Care has Rapid Fire and Hoya has his items, then they can fight. But right now, it's NIP's gold lead's kind of fake.
Jumping forward on towards Guwon. He's going to try to kite this one out. Should have to throw down the Crescent Guard, does do so. And just like that, Weibo does basically nothing to him. Zika teleported in on the back line, just going to get jumped to by the Xin Zhao, loses his TP shield. Is forced to retreat back to the rest of the team. Care stepping up with his gold card. He's going to have to throw it on a Moham, who does flash scoop Care in, but the follow-up is not there. Enchanted Crystallero stops and engage on the opposite side. Xiaohu basically gets nothing done as a result. Now here comes the encore, connects onto 2, locks down Zika. He gets exhausted, he gets buster shotted away. Perhaps a bit of an error from Hoya there, but he's going to be able to jump forward, going to be able to get the resets, going to be able to clean up the kills anyway. 1 to Hoya, 1 to Photic. NIP take the fight, and they're going to take the Baron.
That could be the straw that breaks the camel's back here. I mean, that's going to get them the Baron. They're going to have all the tempo in the world. They're going to be able to siege all these towers. Really going to enable their composition. They're getting all the gold they need to get those specs we were talking about. And then we have this too.
Yeah, we've seen this one before. Walks up towards the bush, doesn't know what's in it. Turns out it's Twisted Fate. Gold card connects. Xiaohu going to look for a miracle steal. NIP just going to have to play responsibly. Here comes on in. Dragon's Rage through the team. Good idea, but not enough to kill Hoya. Not enough to kill the Baron. NIP get another. It ends up being 4 kills in total plus Baron to NIP.
Yeah, I like it. It was a good idea. It was a good attempt, but it's just not ever going to be enough. You don't quite have the resources left in the tank as Weibo. It low-key looks like it's not that bad. Maybe Zika can get the Mega Gnar and find some kind of an angle here, but this is really where the Twisted Fate thrives, where the Ashe Seraphine thrives. You're just able to have so much range and so much CC. They can't really answer you once you start tethering them like this. You see, that's a gold card. Next thing you know, we're able to start slowing them with the Ashe volleys, and you just can't escape once you get caught up in this blender.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out here to Photic on the Enchanted Crystal Arrows again here. Love the call to just launch it at the ramp. Nails Xiaohu as Moham starts the engage off, stops the chain CC, stops any kind of big Tibbers play from coming on through, and just gives them the space to play with. It lets Hoya fire away at this Annie, forces the flash out, makes the fight so much easier. There's an Enchanted Crystal Arrow blocked by the rebuttal, sent back into Guwon's face, but Guwon shrugs it off. Care takes a lot of damage on the opposite side. There's that golden eclipse, but it does not get the job done, and Hoya, just a menace on the side lane, finally going to realize that he probably needs to back on off as the fight is over on the opposite side. Will he be able to navigate his way out of this? Flashes away from the mold breaker, and that should be enough.
I have to give my hat off to Care. The way he just clicked right there, all of his inputs were, it felt like robotic. The way he snapped up the gold card, it's not the easiest thing to do in the world on the first pull. Make sure he gets the stun and the flash, then pops the ulti. Xiaohu goes for one of the quickest Lee Sin kick flashes I've seen. These kick flashes from Xiaohu are instantaneous, it feels like. But Care, he just pops the gate. He just ults out of there, and somehow it works. Like, Care is just, he's on a tear right now.
Yeah, really good stuff here from the likes of NIP. The chain CC paying off time and time again, and now they're really starting to scale into this one. Zika looking for a big flank on the side, does not have access to the Mega Gnar. Encore comes out, connects onto 2. Zika about to go Mega, but locked down here by the beat drop and will be taken out. Xiaohu trying to find a big Tibbers play. Hoya going to be able to immune it with the rocket jump, going to be able to reset across the team fight, and going to be able to make it a 3-0 for NIP, and it might be more. Care running parallel to Moham, wants to find this low HP Rel with the wild cards. Might have to settle for Elk, might have to settle for nobody, as the Weibo bot lane escape with their lives, but they're the only ones who can say so.
Look at a 5-digit gold lead now. Just look at those numbers on the scoreboard where all the gold is sitting. This game is out of hand for the side of Weibo. This Annie is just practically never going to be useful. We see Mercs, we see Null Magic Band, we see Cleanse, we see McKills, we see everything. We see just how behind they are, and I'm so afraid to say it for Weibo fans, but it's looking like our goats might be washed. They might be cooked, chat. I don't know what else to say. I mean, if Weibo goes 1-3 right here, the fate is no longer in their hands. And I just really want Xiaohu to find a miracle just for the sake of the plot armor.
Well, NIP looking poised to stay on top of Group Nirvana here. A win will lock them for play-ins. One of those 2 coveted spots to stay alive in split number 3 after the regular season will belong to them. And from there on out, it'll be a fight between IG and Weibo for who gets the second one. But they do have to close out the game to do so. 12.5K gold lead certainly feels like it's an inevitability, but there is
not a certainty.
Still a little bit of gameplay left to be had.
Yeah, there sure is. And I just feel like for Elk, the meta is just not suitable for him. Like, it's not blending very well with his play style. I'm sorry to say it, but he just doesn't seem quite able to make sure he's doing the best job on this Mel, on this Xerath, on these picks. He's just getting gapped by Photic here. Many would consider one of the lower tier 80 carries. I'm just going to say it how it is, but unfortunately for Elk and Xiaohu, our goats, this is their last stand.
Looking to see what they can make happen. TP in from Zika. Weibo need to make a last stand here somewhere. They will have a faint numbers advantage while Care is still in the mid lane, but they don't see a target that is appealing enough for them to jump onto. It would probably have to be Hoya or Photic, preferably both. And they are not giving up that opportunity on the NIP side. Guwon up at the front line, paving the way for Hoya. Fengyue staying attached to the hip to Photic, making sure that that Encore is always going to be available. Zika stacking up this rage, looking for an angle to jump on in. But again, NIP, they just back away as soon as the wave is gone. They are not giving Weibo up any freebies.
in times like this, the most important thing to do is to just be careful and just be methodical. There is no reason to go for any rash engages for someone you think might be overextended, might not be. Just play it out. We call it the death ball style. Get all the inhibitors, get all the objectives, whether it's the Soul or the Elder or the Baron, whatever it takes, and just make it so that you have so many minions you can't lose. It's pretty much checkmate from a position like this, but there are many ways, I'm sure we've all seen as League players and fans, that you can find ways to screw this up. You can, but all you have to do is just steer the ship home, score the home run, win the touchdown, GG.
Looking to get that 4-0. Probably already frustrated at losing a second game of the split so far, but doesn't look like that is a mistake that they will repeat. Baron up and available. Dragon coming up in 45. NIP just looking to secure themselves that purple worm and close out this series. Full control over the mid-wave, making sure Weibo do not have an easy access point. Kare's got to be careful. Xiaohu looking to see if he can pick themselves up a miracle fight, get a big kick, create themselves that numbers advantage, but easier said than done.
Feels like NIP is aware of the risks from the bot side, but Xiaohu pulls up anyway.
There we go, punishing Care for looking for that stun, but he is going to get knocked back into the team. The stasis does a lot. Really good encore from Elf. Gets it back on towards 2, but it just does not matter. NIP have got the lead. NIP are far too ahead for any kind of rebuttal encore to make a difference. That's going to be the ace to them. They're going to clean house in this game number 3, and NIP, undefeated, are going to lock themselves in for the play-ins.
Weibo made him work for it, but NIP was there in the end. That's going to be an undefeated start to the Group Nirvana, which they, again, barely happened to be in just by not surviving for the Group Ascend in that fateful best of 5. But here we have it. NIP still in form, still strong. Botlane looking good, and I know that was the question coming into the series. Awesome Zhuo being replaced here by Photic Fengyue. How's it going to look? How's the compatibility? Gordo, it's looking pretty good.
Looking very strong here. The standout best team in Group Nirvana through the first round robin continues to win as they start their second and will lock themselves in a spot in the play-ins. Congratulations to NIP. You will see them challenge one of the bottom Group Ascend teams, and it's starting to feel like you could even start to consider them favorites and consider them as candidates to be able to make it into the playoffs proper. It's been a great run for them so far in this split. There are a lot of question marks around some of the roster changes that ended up occurring, but they look like they have not skipped a beat.
They did make a bit of a beat skip, but that was kind of unprecedented. I mean, that was Season 16, the most newly released champion. I mean, you can cut them some slack when it comes to that IMO. And yeah, they haven't skipped a beat if you look at it that way. To be honest, NIP has a lot of momentum going on right now. And like we were saying, they were doing really well in Split 2 additionally. So these players clearly have now a lot of experience, a lot of skill, and are more than certainly ready to match some of these Group Ascend teams. And we were talking about, I'd be curious to see how they stack up against the likes of EDG, against the likes of those other teams. But I definitely think they can perform.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a fun player of the game, player of the match discussion to have. I think player of the game for this last one, I think he could give to Photic. I think you could give him the credit on the Ashe. I think a lot of those arrows were really, really good. Care on the Twisted Fate, maybe deserving of a shout as well. If you really like big numbers, you could give it to Hoya on the Tristana. Would not be my selection, but I wouldn't surprise me if a vote or two gets cast in that direction. Player of the series, tight race though.
Yeah, absolutely. For whichever reason, in my experience watching that series, I feel Photic. I honestly do. I don't know if it was his team enabling him to succeed, because again, we did see the Fengyue first game MVP, and we did see some things that his team was really overperforming. We saw Care do well, and we saw Guwon perform. Again, Hoya was looking a bit interesting up there. Really, really fascinating though, because I don't think it was even like that bad. like it kind of just works. Like you have this crazy click forward guy in the top lane. You don't change his programming. You just say, just keep clicking forward. You know, we'll just give us time down here. Give them a reason to be stressed out. Just keep clicking on their towers and their champions. You stress them out, and then we're gonna put in the real work down here on the bot lane. And that's why I think Photic, he performed under those conditions.
Yeah, it's all summarized by that one play where Hoya rocket jumps into 3 people to buster shot, interrupt the TP, so that they can get Photic further ahead and Elk further behind. It all comes down to that one. Yeah. I think I might give my player of the series to Fengyue. I think, you know, 2 Enchanter games means that he doesn't get to have the flashiest of performances, but I think both were solid, and I think that Nautilus in game number 1 was huge for them. I would give it over to the rookie there, but I think there's cases to be made for plenty of members here on NIP, and I've been really happy with what they've been able to put together over their first 4 series here in Nirvana. Certainly looking poised to try to make a return back to Group Ascend here for 2027 and to try to make a run at the playoffs here before the season comes to an end.
And I say they got it. I really do. I would like to see how IG performs now. I know Weibo is going to be watching very closely to IG's next games. They need to meet IG at 3-3. That's their only hope left. So yep. IG just needs to make sure they win one more game and they're locked. So NIP's locked, and now IG has the chance to do the same thing. Weibo's hoping they don't. I'm curious to see how they stack it up because NIP, they have looked pretty dominant, but you would think, right? IG, rookie, the Shy, that could probably put a wrench in this NIP team's success. If anyone could, it's them, right? So let's see how this group Nirvana shakes out. And for the sake of Weibo, let's hope that it comes down to a last-minute photo finish.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely be nice to keep the group close and competitive here, coming into the back end of the split. But you know, NIP and IG have been clear top dogs so far. You know, they've up until tonight they had really only been I can't talk. Been the only challenger.
That's how I feel.
To NIP.
You just narrated my mind.
We're able to at least take them to a 3-game series. Weibo does now join that elite group, but perhaps too little, too late. NIP still come up with the win at the end of the day. They drop down to 1-3, and like you said, hoping to be able to meet IG at 3-3 is basically their only option left.
That's all they got, and we'll see what happens. I'm curious. I felt like Xiaohu, he had some of his former self in there, but it's like he's kind of stuck under the ice or something. Some Captain America's, like, I don't even know what it is, but he just needs to, like, unlock the rest of his form. It feels like his true peak self, it's in there somehow. Like, even the way he flashed in that early game, the way he hit that lock play, the way he was maneuvering around the map, his prime, it's in there. But he just needs to unlock it somehow. I don't know how. I don't know if Xiaohu is going to be able to help him with that. Because maybe Xiaohu was looking for who can help him with the Xiaohu. But anyway, it's you're going to need a lot of who's and hows to figure out where and when they're going to win this group, so, yeah.
If anything, I hope Xiaohu stay together for us to you know, torment more play-by-plays going into the future. I did Wei versus Weiwei like a week ago. That was a party. You know, it's just
heck yeah.
Just keep them rolling. You know, let's see how many other alike names we can get in on the same team, or at least in the same match over the course of this split.
Yes, sir. Well, that's going to be all, I suppose. Unfortunately, Xiaohu wasn't able to make it happen in the end, and that's just the first series of the night, which just blows my mind the most because that was a banger, especially that game 1 and game 2. Those were so hype. I mean, until that complete game was blown open moment, and I really loved it because I swear those first 15 minutes of all 3 games was just so back and forth. You just never really knew who was going to come all the way out on top. There was definitely mistakes being made by both teams, somewhat evenly leveled. Definitely felt NIP were a stronger team. 70-30 was the number I said. Sounds about right, but Weibo is able to do things that can win them games. So we'll see if they can somehow squeeze their way into that play-in.
I was going to say, that's got to be their version of the NIP Locks play-ins graphic. So, good stuff there. Taking a look at some of the post-matches. And, yeah, should be getting those Player of the Series, Player of the Game awards handed out before too long. The damage from Photic in this game, though, I mean, you know, you don't generally... You think of Ashe as a little bit more supportive as far as marksmen go, but ended up with that 100% KP here in game number 3.
Wow.
And pumped out a lot of damage in some of these team fights. Really had to be kind of a primary source for them, especially with Hoya in the side lanes, and was able to represent and do that just fine of a fashion.
100 KP Ashe, it feels like if you just present that stat to someone, and as long as there's like numerous kills, like let's say 10, that just has to mean that the Ashe completely carried that draft, because he was just hitting arrow after arrow on these people. There's a reason this guy had 100 KP. He was all over the map because they wanted to get those objectives and those fights going. He was the one surviving, dishing the damage. I'm not sure how many deaths he had this series, but I believe that's 2 deathless games. And the way he's able to make this comp work, he shoots the arrows in the right places at the right times, and he clicks well in those moments where he needs to do the Ashe spacing, follow up on the CC. And look at the way NIP played this comp. This is definitely not their first rodeo. I mean, feel bad for Xiaohu, who just can't even move.
Yeah, really good comms on some of the CC chains there. Really like to see that from an NIP crew that, you know, was not all on the same roster not too long ago. Really good job by them to be able to keep on layering the CC. And, you know, they go undersold, but I do want to highlight some of these encores from Fengyue as well. I think they were really effective in some of these broader team fights to be able to keep folks locked up, get the fight started in the right way for this NIP team, and allow them to walk away with a dominant win in game number 3.
Yeah, for whichever reason, Jackie Love didn't want to keep the Fengyue, and Fengyue decides that I'm still really good, and there's a reason we finished so high in the playoffs, top, second place. And that's because he's really good at the game. I mean, the way he played on these enchanters was masterful. He was able to do so much, and even that Nautilus game still in my mind, like, he played really well tonight. And I don't know why I have this built-in bias of not really looking at supports, but I guess we all kind of do, and you're totally right to put the spotlight on him. He was definitely enabling Photic to succeed the way he did tonight.
Yeah. You know, I think Weibo, speaking of this last fight, did a really good job here at trying to make a stand, but that 12k gold lead really rears its head there at the end.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of pieces went well, right? It's a good engage with the Dragon's Rage onto Care. It's a really good rebuttal to send the Encore back into the bot lane duo, but the pieces just can't come together.
Never enough.
The Xin Zhao's invincible, by the way, up against your double mage damage comp with the with the Crescent card roaming. It's just, there's no chance.
Yeah, great draft. I think Care, he knew what he was signing up for. He's like, they're probably going to pick Mel, and I'm ready. And the way he played the Twisted Fate was really nice. I really liked the build with the Proto Belt first. Great performance. I can see why we highlighted him as a great player. His KDA goes down quite a bit from this series. I'll say he was definitely having some funky deaths.
Man.
He sure didn't. And he was clicking pretty aggressively. Not as aggressively as Hoya. So honestly, he might have been my favorite player to watch all night. Like, I'm still perplexed and trying to process the gameplay I just watched from him, because I'm pretty sure he outperformed Zika 3 games in a row, but it looked funny all 3 times. So I need to understand what the heck is going on with this Hoya click forwards formula.
Man.
That's awesome.
It's kind of what it's like. I've been enjoying 2026 Hoya quite a bit. The Varus tops, add the Tristana top to that now. That's an easy player of the game for Photic. The 100% KP certainly locking it in for him here as he goes 6-0 and 10 on the Ashe. Now the question is he going to get the full player of the series, or might that swing in a different direction? Because I think that's a lot more open for debate.
Yep, definitely. I think that's where you can bring in Fengyue into the question. You can possibly even consider Care. And just a really solid bot lane in general. If you could reward one of the lanes or the jungle, you got to give it to the bot lane. They played the best. It was really great out of them. And it's crazy because they just recently paired up at the start of this split 3, only having played 3 sets together so far on stage as Photic and Fengyue. And doesn't really look like it.
Yeah, the AI ends up making the difference here. Thank you, computer, being able to give that one over to Photic for what was a solid Ashe performance. But yeah, a lot of people giving props over to Care, and I still think, this has been Care's best split of the year so far. Obviously, it's back down in Nirvana, and Fengyue
there it is,
walking away with the player of the match.
There it is. Yeah, you called it. You're right, and I admit fault where it's due. For whatever reason, guys, we all need to just pay more attention and respects to the supports. I swear, I'm not even capping. Like, why is it we just watch them play really well, but we don't see it? You know, we're just looking past it. In the Nautilus game, it's much easier to see, I guess, because at least he's landing the hooks time after time. But when they're playing the Enchanters, it's not nearly as flashy. I mean, even in the Lulu game, it felt like he was doing quite fine. He had some deaths, but they were low-key worth. And I don't know, in general, Fengyue played really well, especially that Nautilus game. And that last game right there as well in the Seraphine, those Encores, as you said, really nice, really clean, enabling Photic to have such a great KDA. I'm pretty sure his KDAs went up by like 300%, so that's amazing. And unfortunately, not the same story for Care, but yeah, I'm sure he's happy to walk away being 4-0 and undefeated here in the Group Nirvana.
Absolutely. Congratulations to NIP on their qualification. They're going to be leaving plenty happy with how their day went. We got Top Esports versus LGD coming on up next, and we're going to have two new casters take you on through it. Alk and Grapes going to be hopping on after us. So thanks for hanging out with me, Foles. Thank you, everybody at home, for hanging out with us. We will be back after this break as our second series of the day, going back to Group Ascend, comes up next.